Hello, and thank you for joining me here on Sew Stitch Hex. Today, I'm going to be doing a mini review on demonic offerings and demonic pacts. The reason why I'm doing them together is because they're really small. Demonic offerings has only like 19-20 pages if you count the list of suggested reading and other books. And demonic offerings has about 40 pages, and then if you count those, with a couple little comments here and there and fun frequently asked questions, which I do read the frequently asked questions in some books, and other books I don't. It really depends on what the content is. Like in this case, so if everything you say is true, why magic? Why pact making at all? And it was interesting. Because their comments are like, some people need ritual to set their mindsets to something. Some people need a way to focus their intent, and performing rituals, magic, and working with spirits helps to that end. The mind is a very powerful thing. And to that coinciding energy in the form of spirits, plants, stones, color, etc., you create a force to be reckoned with. The daemon and all the tools and elements of magic are simply supportive. They draw things and opportunities to you, allow you to attune yourself to the proper energy for effecting change, and help you put your mind and effort toward what you really want. That isn't to say there is or isn't a supernatural element to magic. Just that the best results add the power to the human mind. Don't forget the Hermetic axiom. The universe is mental. We do create our own realities. Magic, including pacts, just make it a little easier. And a comment that I've written into my book was saying not to spiritually gaslight yourself into believing it isn't working because of you. Maybe it's not. There are other factors. And I just wanted to mention in the book where I was reading, because although it is a psychological thing, and it is your work towards it and your power towards it, there are other things interfering. Like you have other people, their wants, their desires. You have a different plan that may be happening in the works. These are things to remember when you go through. And so I made sure to make that note to myself. Another quote I really liked from the frequently asked questions of Pacts was, now if you've offered something up that is non-refundable, souls, firstborn, things like that, psychologically, that could do some damage. Depends on how superstitious and afraid of your own shadow you are, or how prone to emotional discord you are. Each person's results will be different based on mental stability and personal fears. Of course, ultimately, if you break your pact, the person you cheat is yourself. And that's punishment enough, because no one can ever be as hard on us as we often are on ourselves. All magic has consequences. Be prepared to accept any consequences for your magic, whether they're good or bad. And that is something to think about, good consequences versus bad consequences. And one of the things they talk about in demonic pacts is really knowing what you want. Specificity is the most important part of writing your pacts. And one of the things discussed is typically knowing who to talk to. There's a list in here of what demons to make pacts with. And in the works that are here, that I have here, Connolly, who I absolutely adore, demonic pacts can be referring to literally any type of spiritual entity, like divine or otherwise. And so you can work with Lilith, and they mentioned those under the lust, love, relationships, compassion, and I've been working a little bit with Lilith, so that's kind of fun. Nature, they have Lucifer and Satan, and I like that they make that differentiation there, because not everyone does. And I know she would, but other people don't, even if they really should. But they have a section for hatred, vengeance, anger, and war, a section for life and healing, money, prosperity, luck. They don't really mention Sarath in the list, even though she has him mentioned a lot in demonic prosperity magic. And I think that's because of the danger of working with him alone. So she wanted to I guess she wanted to have him in that book specifically, where she talk about using him and being aware of everything that's going on. But overall, I really like their list. They mention a lot of really good things, like talking about types of pacts. You have the unrealistic ones, where you're like asking the demon to do all the work for you, and like you're asking for wealth and fame for something, but like you're not doing anything. Like you're asking to be a famous painter, but you haven't started painting. You haven't tried putting your paint out in exhibits. You haven't tried selling it on Etsy. You haven't done anything, and you want fame. What are they supposed to work with? So, or you ask for fame, but you're not doing anything. You could get something crazy. I think she mentioned like being killed by a toilet, which made me just think of Dead Like Me. But being like murdered for some random reason that was absurd. So now you're famous. That being an important topic. A self-pact is what strength and guidance to help you manifest your true will, and will happily witness this pact and hold you to it by throwing gentle or not so gentle reminders to you. The demon doing that, you doing this for yourself. You are setting up this pact like, hey, keep me accountable, but I'm doing it. Basically, you're asking for a life coach. There's also the knowledge, where you're asking for like knowledge or intelligence. And then there's the one for like opportunities, where you're generally asking for an opportunity and you're doing the work towards it. You're not just, hey, I want this unattainable thing. I want you to help me. Kind of like how I've mentioned, if you do a love spell, but all you do is stay home, like the only person you might run into is the delivery guy dropping off your books. Like, you're not going to find anyone staying at home unless you're actively on a dating site. You're actively going out and socializing. You're actively doing things that are going to let you meet someone. That's how those kind of things work. You have to give it the opportunity plus your magic. You can't just let the magic do all the work. I really enjoyed the packs overall. She does give a bunch of packs with like a basic outline. There's no real reason to read them. They give you like a little signature for the date, for your signature in blood, for the demon seal, and you just basically are like, I insert your name. In deepest respect, do hereby offer demon's name. This is to gain fame and success. What you intend to give the demon in exchange for fame and great success, to excel in all my endeavors. Enter other specifics here. I affirm a pact with you, demon, in my most heartfelt desire. By signing and dating this pact below, I do dedicate myself to being successful/famous. Add to specifics here. Below, I affix my seal. It's not very specific. It leaves out all the main details. It just kind of gives you a formal like outline, as if you were doing a resume where you insert and you have to fill in. It does say what demons mean, Sarath, which has a note to it, being that they don't really, it can cause self-destruction. To be careful if you choose to work with him. Not everyone weathers Sarath successfully. I really like learning about him, but there's not a lot to learn about him. Just that, like, you have to be careful. I haven't worked with him before, but I do like to read a lot, so there's that. But it lists other demons to work with him, and it has, like, considerations, like, it's being specific with, like, specific form of notoriety or recognition. For example, I do dedicate myself to become a famous painter instead of just famous. One being famous for your painting or famous because you died. There could be that big difference there. I like these, although when I write, I've never really done a pact with someone. I have made like tiny vows, usually to myself. Although I have recently had a couple with different gods and goddesses. And I've found that I'm more of I write letters when I do some types of spell work, and I do letters when I do the types of vows that I've done. Now, I really did enjoy the offerings book. If you can tell, there's lots of little notes in there. It's lots of little hearts. So many hearts. So many things were really good. How they talked about how, like, it's not that big a deal to give blood to a demon, especially if it's a demon that likes blood. If it's not one that likes blood, and you should know, don't give it one. And I've mentioned when I do offerings on my altar how I give something that they would like, unless it's something that's a serious sacrifice for me. And it's just to kind of prove that I'm very dedicated. Like this right here where they talk about the different offerings. They're talking about animal sacrifice and offering, which you could do an animal sacrifice, but don't just kill the animal to kill it. Because that's lazy. Just like if you're giving the blood, if you give your own blood, 3 drops is all you need. But the fact that it's your blood is significant because you're giving something of yourself. It means nothing to take something from another creature versus giving it of yourself. And here, if you sacrifice an animal, make sure you're sacrificing the animal and you're using the whole animal. They're like, if you're going to give something up, don't just kill it. You're going to use it. In this case, you would cook it and then eat it later. I would like to think you would cook it, eat it later, maybe use the bones and other parts that are not edible to incorporate into your craft in some way, to incorporate into the spell work or some other like aspect of use so that it's not being just, thrown away. And that's how they recommend if you're doing a sacrifice type offering. And of course it would be, I would think something significant, something here. Here they don't like make a specific thing. Of course it's not going to be inhumane. You're not like torturing an animal. It would be just like how you would kill a chicken to eat chicken. Or you would kill a pig to eat pig. Or you would kill a deer. Same concept, although depending on where you are, obviously you're not going to offer up a cat or a dog. Some people do eat cat and dog. Here in America, we typically do not eat cats and dogs. That's frowned upon. And I wouldn't eat a dog because I love my dog. I wouldn't eat a cat because I'm allergic to cat, and I think that'd be a bad plan. I would feel bad eating a rabbit, but people do eat rabbit, and I do intend to eat rabbit one day. Because I love rabbits and I'd love to have rabbits, but I want like a rabbit farm, and I would use all the rabbit. Like I could use the fur and I could use the bones and little crafts. It'd be super cool. And there's not like a lot of meat, but I'm thinking rabbit jerky. That's probably where it's at, because like I like jerky, but only fresh jerky. I don't like a lot of the store-bought jerky. I'm really picky. Usually it's like fresh jerky, like deer jerky. That's really good. And that's the idea there. But regardless, using the entire animal and not doing it in an inhumane fashion. You're just doing it for the purpose of sacrifice and the purpose of utilizing the entire animal. You're honoring this animal by offering it as a sacrifice. It's not meant to be a punishment to the creature. It's meant to be a honor. So it's not supposed to be like awful, if that describes it in a good way. They talk about plants and flowers, which I absolutely loved, and talking about how important it is to like grow things yourself and have things that are your own, because they're more of a sacrifice because it's the labor of your love. They also mention a couple things like just picking the flowers. Even if you didn't grow them, the labor of picking them yourself, not just going to a florist. Plus, if you pick them yourself from the wild, especially if you're allowed to pick in that area, not just like go into someone's yard and steal their sunflowers, but somewhere where it's obviously like no pesticides are used and it's free to take flowers, like that's cool. Don't go steal from your parks though, because they work hard to put those flowers out and they're for everyone. Like if one's falling off, I'll pick it up, but I'm not just trying to pick all the flowers, because those are for people to see and they specifically tell you not to. Like you can read, and if you can't, like how did you drive there? You have to be able to read to pass the test. I like how they mentioned marigolds, common offerings for death. I wrote down calla lilies because I love calla lilies. Those are like wonderful. They're one of my favorites. Food offerings, and it talks about fruit, and it mentions apples and oranges because they're inexpensive and plentiful in autumn and winter when these particular types of demons reign supreme. And then there's a mention of pomegranate, and I noted that. And they talk about how milk and honey is a fantastic offering for Kemetic, Roman, and green demons because it's often more traditional. And I love milk and honey. Any type of honey and cream is like the bomb diggity, and I will write it I will give that to anyone who loves it because I understand. Like, I feel you. And they're talking about when to make offerings. I put in the note, because she didn't mention this, how when you think of them, you're building that relationship. It's similar to building a friendship. Just like how you want to work with them, I would start weeks before your intended day to start. Say you want to start working with them and you have an idea in mind, but you haven't fleshed it out, maybe you should start talking to them first. Don't just jump in and be like, hello, it's nice to meet you. I want to do this super elaborate ritual that means a lot. Like, let's jump in and go. Like, hold up. You just invited me to your house. I haven't met you yet. Like, do you know who I am? You know, like the god or goddess is just going to look at you like you're crazy. Like, give them a minute. Let them breathe. Let them decide if they even like you. And then move on. You would start with, hey, how are you? I'm interested in working with you. I'm doing some reading. I thought it'd be nice. Move from there. Be like, hey, this is that same day again, week later, or you can do it every day. I mean, how you are. I like to do things like when I first started, I did it every day for like a week for certain people, just like every day for a week, just to get them to know like I'm super serious. And then I'll tell them like, hey, I'm cutting this down to 1 day a week and it's going to be a constant thing. And sometimes I won't have a full ritual because I also have lives. I'm sure they understand. I tell them like I have like alarms set 2 or 3 times a day so I can take a moment of reflection to think about them and honor them just in thought, and just kind of be like, hey girl, how are you? Have a good day. Okay. And then I just kind of move on. Because I treat it like, as I've always learned, that when you speak to God, you should speak to him as you're talking to a friend. So any god, goddess, spirit I talk to, I try to be friendly with. And like, as I move forward, I try to find things when I go to the store and I buy alcohol for like Papa Legba. I'm just like, okay, this is what I got you last time. And from the way things have been, I don't know if you like this one. Or, oh, I know you like this one, but this is a nicer version of that. So I'm going to let you try that while they have it in stock and see if you like it. And I'll just kind of do that and then try out new things. And then I'll go into Goodwill occasionally and I'll see something and be like, that is perfect for whoever. I want to give that to them. That's theirs. That's theirs. That has their name on it. Like, I basically see their name. And I'll buy it and give it as like, this is something for you. This is to show my appreciation for your like presence. Because I don't actually worship any deities. That's why I really liked this, talking about like forming the relationship and how do you offer them something to work with them. Like, you're giving them something and receiving something in return. Same idea works with me and my relationship to the divine and to other spirits. I give them something to show that I care and to show that I have a relationship and be like, hey, I thought of you. This is what I got for you. But it's just to show off like our friendship, and it's to show, to me, this is a useful item for them because this ties them into the physical plane. Just like if I give someone something, usually it's a book. I like to give people books. Like, I know you like this. This will encourage your spiritual development, your gaming. This will encourage your like life in some way, because this will push you forwards in whatever area you find the most joy. And if it's causing that growth in that area, I think that's a very worthwhile investment. And as someone's friend, like, that's what I want, is to give them that investment in themselves, basically. Buying a book feels like you are investing in someone, and I like doing that for people. So, like, with the offerings and the pacts, I really enjoyed these books. There wasn't any too many things that I didn't like, but it's S. Connolly, so I generally just fangirl. And one day I want to meet her in person, and I want her to sign everything that has her name on it that I own. And maybe I'll be like in such a crazy mood, I'll just like, sign my face. I don't know. You know, when you're just so excited you can't, and you're just like, they shook my hand. That's where I'd be. I'm just such a fangirl over their books. Like, I usually get speechless if I'm too excited, and I'd either be speechless or I'd ramble, and that's kind of what would happen. But yeah, I'd highly recommend these. They're really quick reads. I read both of them in the same afternoon while I was watching Star vs. the Forces of Evil, because I'm doing like a pop culture magic study, and I have both of Mal's spell books the spellbook from Star Verses, plus a couple references that aren't there I have from the wiki, from the Star Verses fandom wiki. And then Harry Potter spellbook and one other one I can't quite remember, but it's like, I haven't started that one yet. But it's like the pop culture magic and how it relates to what we're doing and what I'm doing. Just a fun little keep me busy and entertained. But yeah, so I'd highly recommend these. I really like the detail of starting a pact and like why you might want a pact, what you would need. I really like the one on for intelligence and guidance. Seems that would work out the best, is ask for meditative time and give them your time and, you know, work with them in that way. Whereas offerings talks about like proper sacrifices and why you would do this. One note that I didn't mention was when they talk about offerings and setting up a outdoor altar, they mentioned like putting salt outside, and you wouldn't want to put the salt on the ground because it would make it hard, like that would change the balance of the ground, like the dirt, and make it hard for plants to grow in that soil. So that was the only thing I noted in there, was like if you are setting up this ritual outside, I wouldn't invite salt into that space. I would use an alternative, because that would be better. And they also didn't mention smokeless options for cleansing your space, which I would have done. I would have done something like turnips or any form of holy water, or I guess you could do like war water. I don't know. Instead of holy water, just do damned water. Basic same concept, I believe. Just think it's the mindset. That's honestly how I've thought of it. Or you could use rose water plus something else for your cleansing space. I don't use any smoke things. I use bells. That's what I use a lot of. I've mentioned this in my video on cleansing with like alternatives to smoke. Because I really don't like smoke cleansing. And I know people who are like straight up allergic to frankincense and myrrh, and those are things used a lot. And sage makes me sick personally, so like, I don't know, not mentioned, but I guess that's not like the biggest priority for some people, because if it's not an issue for you, it's not an issue. Alright, thank you so much for joining me on this very rambly review of Demonic Pacts and Demonic Offerings by S. Connolly, and I hope to see you next time. Alright, bye!